I had German nuns in my school, so I like. So you're only going to have 3 minutes. I am going to be very strict about that, and I am not going to waste any more time. Anybody who has their name on the panel, please, you can sit in the front, and Marlene will give a 2-minute introduction. Thank you.
So, just people wanted to hear what it is the panel is to do. I'd also like to say, if your name is not on the panel, but you have advice for us, feel free to put up your pen. If your name is on the panel and you don't want to talk, you don't have to. What we really want is good feedback. You've heard us talk about the vision. We get some sense of the grand capacity that exists in this room in the larger network. We need to know what would make this work in your context or not work. What do we need to do to move forward successfully? So any thoughts you have, if that's correct.
Okay, so please we start with Brazil, Lucela.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm reading that is the knowledge building forum. It's easier for me. And I think really disseminates that the knowledge building theory have to be disseminated now in our country, and its tools in universities, schools, and within policymakers to regional seminars. Because we are 900,000 million persons. We are 2,500,000 teachers. And so I think we have to disseminate this to translate forum and tools for Portuguese, and I think that Cesar is a great heading process. And create, I think, create a project-free membership to train teachers, schools, students, and principals to use the tools, prioritizing groups of schools. And we have discussed in our other group that I think that it should be free, and teachers and principals, and they have choice, not mandatory from the government, because we are used to do this with new theories and new pedagogies in Brazil. And so I think that it could be something that we have teachers and principals could apply. Invite groups of students in schools for spontaneous participation and involvement, mainly in high school. I think this could be a really, really great thing in Brazil in this time. Ensure institutional conditions, schools and universities to provision of scholarships for participants. Remember that career has low social value in Brazil and salaries are very, very low. So we have to create conditions, institutional conditions to people want to be and want to do this courses. And establish network and international support. This is, I think, that is the most important thing in this moment in Brazil, because we have a lot of appeals. And if we have something that had worked in Canada, for example, that is a model in Brazil in this time, it could be a great appeal. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, next one is from Canada, Quebec, Cypriot Jose Boudon.
Sorry, I don't know. And Lithuanian.
So I told us we have periods by two.
Yeah, please. Thank you. If you need a little more time because we're two, that's fine. But I will be counting. And I will do it when 1 minute is left, so that you know.
Read what's supposed to have a translator.
Oh, translator.
Translator?
Pascal.
Okay, Pascal. Okay, great. So then you have more time.
Bonjour. Donc, le ministère de l'Éducation, du Loisir et du Sport soutient l'école en réseau depuis plus de 14 ans.
So the ministry supports École en réseau since 14 years.
Et aujourd'hui, la pratique du knowledge building rejoint environ 200 enseignants
So knowledge building practices touch about 200 teachers
du Québec avec l'appui des universités québécoises et de CFIA.
with the support of Quebec universities and CFU.
Does everyone know what is remote network school here, guys? They do. They do? You do? Okay. So we're involved, as you were involved in this initiative since the beginning, as Liz said. We're involved with school boards, the education department, many universities, and there are many representatives of the education department around this initiative. One of our main concerns in the remote network school is regarding the institutionalization of innovation. Not only in this project, but in many projects in Quebec, we have a problem. We put in place many pilot projects, innovation pilot projects, and health services, the same thing, but we have so many difficulties to implement them on a permanent basis in the system. We have with the education department many counselings about this institutionalization, it's hard word for me in English. And we have many, we went on many topics regarding institutionalization and all the administrative rules, the policies, the collective agreements are organized in order to maintain the knowledge building approach in the schools. Over the 10 last years, we've been regarding this with the education department, discussion with school board managers, working with the teachers also on these topics. It's still very hard to expand the model, the pedagogical model in the school. It's a real success with 200 teachers. Most of them at the primary school. We have to bring this to the secondary schools on a more larger scale. Well, it's difficult to take all the drivers together and to make these changes. It's a challenge of change management, as it is for other innovation projects. But there's one key driver. We were discussing with the researchers this morning on this. One of our key drivers is the new professional development model, which has been put in place by the researchers. With Thérèse Impérial, Christine Allen, Stéphane Allaire, Sandrine Turcotte. It's a brand new professional development model, based on a real-time approach, network professional development in schools, and during the working hours, and they're practicing knowledge building. Teachers are practicing knowledge building at the same time that they bring it with the students. If you want to learn more about the model, please talk with the researchers here today and tomorrow. And there's written many articles I think on this. But this is for us a real key driver. The education department, it's not your responsibility as the education department to organize the development professionals. And in unions, I think they're concerned with this, but it's not a real responsibility for them. So what's going on with this model is important for us in order to expand the model in all of the schools in Quebec. We won't know if we'll see, but that's a real key driver. There are also other key drivers of policies, public policies. Money is one driver, but it's not the most important one.
Also the human resources, the organization of work in the school, in concordance with the collective agreement. There's something there too, but between that professional development is in this new model, not traditional professional development. That's important to mention it. Is very important drive. Thank you.
Now we have Bruce and Lydia and Mary, and you guys have, and Jennifer. Okay, so we have 2 minutes.
I'll try to be briefer than that. I have 3 points to make. One I made as we opened our presentation on the first day, and that's as a ministry, so I'm talking really from the ministry perspective, we're very interested in the ability to kind of field test, see the effect that a knowledge building community has on students in a holistic sense. The second thing is to hear from teachers and students about what they feel that they need and to make adaptations based on that. In analytics, teachers we're already hearing are interested in what the tool can tell them about what their students need and where they should go next, how they're progressing. So some evaluation, some assessment in that regard. And the third thing is developing from the student's perspective. In Ontario, we spend a great deal of time and give a great deal of credence to student voice. What are the students telling us about their learning? Not about the teaching, but about what they're learning in the classroom situation. So from a student's perspective, what we really like to do moving forward through the project is create the story from the students. What does it feel like? What changes them? What changes their thinking and their learning by being involved and working with, experiencing the 12 principles of knowledge building? And I'll turn it over to Linda next.
Thank you, Bruce. So for the principal associations, we need to continue to develop effective professional learning opportunities for our principals and also for the teachers who are working with them around knowledge building. We're going to need continued support from Arlene and her team in terms of what that professional development looks like, and also support, especially on the technical side of it. And we need to continue to support the ministry, and as you hear, we're very fortunate. We have that already. And then finally, and Bruce mentioned this as well, it's the research piece. We need to continue to show that the work we're doing with principals to become better instructional leaders and impact on improving teacher performance and then student achievement. We need to have research that demonstrates that's happening, and so that's going to be very important. So our work with our researcher, Dr. Leafwood, in conjunction with Marlene, is going to be important as we move forward.
And because we didn't plan for this, we didn't know what others would say. I'm just going to add that we talked a lot already about, multi-level. The fact that if this is going to be successful, we have to have supports at all levels. We're all doing work, coming at it from different perspectives, different entries, different cultures. So that's really important to keep that in mind. I think the other thing I'd like to say is that really to encourage risk-taking, and I think it was Chris who said today, change that whole mindset about saying we can't do it. There are always barriers, but to say we don't know how to do this yet. At every level, with students, with teachers, with administrators, with the ministry. So that would be something else that I could contribute. And I think that there's a balance between self-directed, that people have to be able to make a choice about what they need. Again, depending on the country, depending where you're at with knowledge building. And just lastly, and I mentioned this in the last session, I am blown away because, and I think we're going to take this back to our people to say, guess what? This is being done internationally at every level, whether it's post-secondary, where the ministry is backing it up, where they're not backing it up. So it's very doable. I just
think we need to do a better job of promoting knowledge building with educators. I mean, we're trying to offer courses. And I told some friends and colleagues that I was coming to Quebec to Laval University to do a summer institute, and they said, like, on what? And I said, knowledge building. And they said, what is that? And I mean, some of them are new teachers, and some of them have been in the profession 35 years and are retired. So I think we need to do a better job of saying, here's something really great that's going to help you in your profession, with your teaching, with your learning, no matter where you're at in your career. I always talk too much.
For us, the first goal is a very practical one. We want the 12 school boards on board. Because right now we have 9 of them involved with us in LSC, today, as we say in French. So the goal this year would be to go to up to 12. Very practical one. The second one, what I remember the most of the 4 days is the co-designing stuff. And I think we really have to listen to the teachers and principals and everybody in the education community in schools, where they are at now. What have they done? What have they changed and innovated in the last 10 years? Where are they at with their critical thinking that we're working a lot in the 21st century skills that we're working a lot in our French communities? And what's the link between the collaborative inquiry and the knowledge building? And what is it that we think that's going to take us above or go deeper in the thinking? So I think that's what we have to do, to start from where we are and identify what we have to work to make sure that knowledge building becomes a natural growth from where we are right now. So that's in co-design with the teachers from their point of view, because the school board where I was at before has not the same story as at least the school board. As the people from the north that don't have, some of them don't have access to internet really far. So we have to find a way to communicate together and make sure that we're not trying to go like with a top down. Start with what's on the field, what's in the field, what are their successes, what have they done that are amazing, and how can we go further. So I think that's what we're going to do now. And it's not in 1 year. I really remember my colleague from Barcelona. I like the hockey. We don't have to go slow. Like, I mean, we have to go like we want it. We're eager to go there, but to get there. But we have to respect also the people around and make sure that we're not doing it too quick and then we don't know what we're talking about. So I think that's mainly what we want to do on the French side with my English colleagues. And I love them so much. They're really nice.
Now we have Sandy from PEI.
I'm going to start with a bit of a geography lesson for those of you who don't know PEI.
Oh,
It's Canada's smallest province. It's about 200 kilometers long. We have a population of 140,000 people. Most of the population is probably Anglo-European extraction, but we have a substantial Francophone population, a small Mi'kmaq indigenous population, and there's a growing multicultural segment because of immigration and demographic change. We have 1 university, 2 school boards, 1 English, 1 French, and we have a reasonably close working relationship with the Department of Education. Because education is a provincial responsibility in Canada, we have a great deal of autonomy and freedom. Our students in PEI tend to perform below norm on the PISA exam. There's a crisis. That's something to see. We should be a natural test bed for something like knowledge building and knowledge forum, particularly given that there is a challenge to the economic drivers that have traditionally underpinned the economy of PEI, farming, fishing, and tourism. They're no longer sufficient in a knowledge economy. So the question then, and here I am to the meat of the matter, and it's only going to take about 10 more seconds, is what do we need to make this happen? And in short, we need a reasonably coherent package that sets out how each segment in the PEI educational community could participate in, contribute to, and benefit from KBI as a hub for innovation. Right now, we have great ideas, we have a rich history, incredible things happening, amazing practitioners, researchers, teachers. We'll get to see tomorrow's innovators, kids working with this project. How can you share that richness in 25 words or less, 2 minutes or less, in such a way that we could garner support from the segments of PBI? And
That's great, thank you.
So the next one is we're going to have a video from Nancy Law in Hong Kong, and she prepared for us. And unfortunately, it's 4 minutes and a half.
Afternoon, knowledge builders. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share with you on this very important topic of building cultural capacity for innovation. This is a very important topic for the knowledge era, and it's particularly important for education, as we are primarily a human capacity building profession. How do we cultivate the capacity for innovation? Like most other things in life, it is best done through experiential learning, through getting people to engage in innovations. However, there are several ways that learning to innovate differs from learning specific concepts like gravity or skills like cooking. First, innovation means that those who are engaged in it accept that what we are doing is new. There is no clear solution and is thus risky. We are treading new ground, and even if ideas are good, there could be so many problems during execution that the outcome may be worse than before. So we do not need only to build capacity for risk, but even more importantly, see innovation as an evolutionary process, such that innovation becomes a pathway of tinkering through small steps of successes. Second, innovation cannot be learned alone. Innovative ideas come through idea diversity, and interactions with others are most important. Opportunities to interact with others in different settings and different cultures will help to challenge existing assumptions. Innovative ideas may come from intentional learning or even serendipitous encounters. Third, innovations are alien species, and most of the time they are like comets. They come and go. Building capacity for innovation is actually requires evolving a new ecology. There are so many places around the world with high concentration of brilliant scientists and engineers, but there is only one Silicon Valley. And innovation is part of a much larger organism. It will only survive and further develop if it becomes integral to the well-being and further development of most parts of the larger organism. Even normal growth and development, like a child learning to walk or run, requires the nerves, muscles, the brain, the whole circulatory and respiratory systems to grow and develop in tandem. For an innovation to have the opportunity to take root and continue to evolve, there needs to be structures and interaction mechanisms designed so that multi-level structures and components are all engaged in multiple cycles of interactions and feedback alignment, resulting in self-organizing expansion and deepening of the innovation. Well, is it really possible to engineer such self-organizing ecology for innovation? Engineering, I don't know how to do that yet. But over the past 3 years, I have been involved in an evaluation of the e-learning pilot scheme for the Hong Kong government, the Education Bureau. Of the 21 projects we followed, we have observed in a few where such self-organizing innovations actually happen. I'm trying to learn more from analyzing the trajectories of development and how these were related to the architectures for learning in these projects. How do these projects differ from those that never really took off, or those that lost momentum after taking off? Well, thank you for this opportunity to share. Sorry that this time is only a one-way traffic from me. I look forward to a future opportunity to learn from the IT community that experiences, insights, and knowledge on building cultural capacity for innovation. Wishing you all a very fruitful SI and a great dinner party tonight.
Now we have Orlando from Colombia.
Hi, thank you. It's harder and harder when you're later in the list to try to come up with something new. And not just echoing what other people have said. So I'll just echo some things and say that I feel in our case we need some local capacity and local training of people in terms of knowledge building and what knowledge building entails and what it means. I feel it's one of the areas in which I have utterly failed. And I've managed to train teachers in our school, but I haven't managed to get it out of our school into universities, into research communities that can work and help us support that kind of work. I feel we need more supports. I think it was Sandy who said supports at all levels for innovation and for knowledge building, supports for teachers, for administrators, for policymakers, and for students and their families. In our case in Colombia, it's pretty much me championing the whole idea. And it's a lot harder that way. And in that sense, we need better communication, better connections, clearer connections and ways of engaging with this community that is upfront, creating that capacity in other places. And I feel we need a better network of international support for those local innovations and ways of communicating with those who are doing all the good work in other places. And there's a great language barrier that I spoke with Mireya this morning about the trouble. And we need tons of materials in Spanish. And we need to translate papers, we need to translate books, we need to translate professional development materials, and have things that we can use with teachers, with students, have exemplary instructional plans for teachers that they can see how knowledge building works in the classroom and how they can bring it into their classroom planning and their lesson planning, and targeted PD in their own language with materials that they can use. And some examples and guides on how to use the software itself and how to, I've had this question from schools that get interested in some of what we're doing. So how do I get my own knowledge form server running? Well, we need that. Here's a guide, here's the server, here's what you need to do.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Now, Stefano from Italy.
Hi. I try to give, first of all, a big picture of the situation and some data. We have in Italy more or less 7,800,000 students, with 700,000 teachers, and distributed in 8,000 institutional schools. In the actual moment, we have three main big challenges that characterize the Italian context of schools. The first one concerns the professional development, because there is not a big picture with a policy, a national policy about the professional development of the teachers. The teachers are not sustained in trying to develop new skills, new professional skills. In particular, each school can provide a plan each year about a specific topic where it is necessary to go in depth to develop new skills for teachers. The second question is about innovation. Often innovation are introduced in schools without a clear theoretical models or without training support for teachers. And a reason of that is concerned the third challenge, that is about the separation between the world of research and university and the world of the practice in school. To overcome this situation, I think it could be important to create more international partnership to understand what happens in other countries about how to create innovation in schools, and also to create network among schools and university, finding a new model to develop a common research that could be useful for academic and for school teachers. In particular, I think an important approach is design-based research, of course, where it's possible to implement innovation and to create a model, a contextual model, and spread the results around different contexts. In Italy, we created an association, scientific association, called the Collaborative Knowledge Building Group since 2005, that try to make connection between teacher and academics. Okay, thank you.
And we are going to choose a few slides as usual. They're coming. While they're coming, if you would like to add a note to the view we have for this session, that will help a lot, and we will have more time to talk about. Some of you already have, but for those of you who haven't, please, you can start.
Next.
Hi, I'm Sayaka. I will talk instead of Hajime and Naomi on Japanese context. Sorry about this. The objective for Japanese language and secondary education is to cultivate a taste for reading. It's so difficult, but the nation provides with great methods like groundwork grade-rated model or harmonious education of thought, which are often divided by subjects. But we also have shared belief in collaborative learning, not only between students, but also teachers for lesson study. So our strategy now is to consider students' conversations as points and make them free to everybody. One way to do this is to measure how of innovation through assessment. However, a university institute, school, and local boards of education co-created 800 lesson practices of knowledge constructive jigsaw based upon the theory of constructive interaction. And key for upscaling is networking networks. And for this, we let all learn from the assessment so that we could believe in students' potential and change our models of learning. National support for those hubs is networking of networks of networks and collecting practices, including lesson plans or materials in the national repository. And the nation also provides with curriculum maps of big ideas in some subjects. Hajime is now trying to let teachers use them in more flexible ways, like linking between the units modeling them, and uploading results of practices. And he also makes paired students solve the PISA and National Achievement Deadline PISA to show students' surprising potential. And if teachers or field service teachers are interested in students' capacity for innovation through any practices like jigsaw or problem solving or math building, they can run series of learning science in the jigsaw way in the learning science portal, which I will develop with Hajime and Naomi. Thank you.
Thank you. Frida from Mexico.
Thank you. In Mexico, we are facing plenty of challenges because we are a country of 100 million of people. So we face so many different, there's a huge gap between educational and economic levels, a lot of people. But then just adding something new, a new reflection about all the other people on the panel. I just can say that we need to stop being invisible. We are making a lot of things and a huge effort in not so many schools, but we are doing something in Mexico. But even the people that are in Mexico, we don't know the work that the other person or the other school in the same country are doing in developing the knowledge building. So we need to start working more collaboratively and start working with each other as a country. And that's why I think this newsletter is a really good step for us to start working together. And that thing, I think, Oscar maybe, and he's here feeling not in person. But for my own point of view, is also another problem we have is that professors are so worried. Professors and principals are so worried to finish the curriculum that even though we had 95 students last year for Tomorrow's Innovators, we had 7 schools invited and participated in that Tomorrow's Innovators. Only 2 schools kept going on during the year, and that was because they had that feeling that they had to finish the curriculum. And the projects, even though they seem attractive and they seem very interesting to work with other countries, okay, they are not willing to engage in those projects because of the curricula. So I think we have to those 2 points are.
Thank you. We have Frank de Jong from the Netherlands.
The Netherlands is so small, even smaller, I guess, than the province of Sandy. So I decided to go on the micro level because no harvest without seed. So I've got 3 minutes, 3 issues: the importance of knowledge form, the competence of knowledge form, and the learning analytics, and a small introduction, so that makes 3.5 minutes. So for us, knowledge building leads to knowledge competence in a way that one is able to go into the process with others that contribute to a better state. It's a German word, it's Dutch, we don't like the German word, but it's kind of understanding that goes beyond explanation by hermeneutics, because there is a different epistemic basis of knowledge perspective in the knowledge building process. It's not static, but knowledge is development, because that results in the end in more wisdom and a well-being in society. And in that process, knowledge form is very important, because we experience when we go to other environments that the knowledge farm is the best suited environment where knowledge building principles support is embedded. Knowledge building is being in a design mode, and when I listened during those days, in order to develop knowledge for and in the future, also the schools, the teachers and the students has to come in a design mode, and not in a mode of a ready-made software when using knowledge farm. In order to contribute to the development, which has to become more self-sustaining, distributed activity. This is in order to connect users and designers in this process. I think that's important. Then to the knowledge form components. We all know that it's already for students a way of developing and to create the right path. And I understand that it's different for it's not different for programs either. Rise above facility, although it can go into the sky, what I heard during these days. It's better to have a simple one than not rise above at all. So the issue is not how frequently it is used, it is one of the connections built on and referencing that is central to knowledge building to move from the world 1 to 3. So you need it like that. Then the learning analytics, getting to understand and transcending information to knowledge is a recursive process. However, if students get there, it seems even more recursive to make it comfortable to the outside world that the students know and understand better than before by using the knowledge building process. So therefore, the development of multi-users interest suitable learning analytics is also very important for us. But how to connect the many marvelous developments of learning analytics with students, teachers, researchers, designers, and managers, so that the connection with learning results is in a way that it covers and goes beyond the regular accountability of assessments in school. So that is in a way that the analytics for learning and not only of learning. So it's not only feedback of learning, but also the basis for feed forward for the learning, or for the knowledge building. That is also, these learning analytics gives insight in what students know and how well they have developed coherent understanding. So basis for feed forward, not only feedback. And in a way that gives insight in the process to teachers to enhance their supporting activities in this knowledge building process. And also in a way that it gives insight for designers to enhance the develop knowledge form in the future.
Thank you.
New Zealand, wait here.
Hi, how are you? Can you all hear me? Right. 3 minutes, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, New Zealand is very new to knowledge building. About 10 years ago, there was one teacher who did a small project with his biology class, but then he stopped doing that. It's only since 2011 that when I started doing research on knowledge building, then people start hearing about knowledge building and knowledge forum in New Zealand. So it's very new in the sense that it poses a huge challenge to people in New Zealand, right? So new. But I see this is very promising because even in the most recent curriculum document, the Ministry of Education in New Zealand actually recognized knowledge building is important in the knowledge society. And in fact, 2 years ago, they actually circulate a big document to everyone, to all teachers, and about future-oriented teaching and learning. And in that big document, there's a huge section of knowledge building, referring work by Marlene and Carl, but they haven't done anything except for the document itself. But with the document, we can then go to the teacher and say, okay, the ministry is recognizing that knowledge building is important, so do it, right? So it's a huge promise for us to do research and also to do actual implementation of knowledge building in classes. Another challenge is that education in New Zealand is really localized. We have a central curriculum, but funding is decentralized. So each school has its own board of trustees and also can administer its own funding for professional development. So a lot of PD money goes to individual schools. So when I go to the ministry say, no, you have to go to school, and they will train teachers, right? You go there because money is there. So there's still some money with the ministry, essentially, and so they still have those contracts putting out, but a large proportion goes to the school. So there's a huge challenge, because if you want teachers to do knowledge building, you have to communicate with each school in a sense, right? So that is a huge challenge for us in New Zealand. But of course, like since 2011, more and more teachers, they know about knowledge building in New Zealand, and last year we have formed a society, an association for teachers called Knowledge Building New Zealand, which is a professional organization for teachers, and we organize symposiums, we do workshops, and we network with teachers, and we are expanding. So there's a huge promise for doing knowledge building in New Zealand. And we are actually publishing an e-book next year. So I'm collecting all these case studies and putting it into an e-book. If I can convince the ministry that, oh, this e-book is useful for schools, and then they may disseminate this e-book to every school. So, I am a dreamer, okay? I am a dreamer. So in that case, it can be done, right? But and again, the challenge is that
it's not working.
There's so much that you have to be done, right? So we don't actually have the resources of doing that. So that is a huge problem at this point.
Thank you. I'll be really quick. So just a little bit of introduction. Kate and TK has been doing knowledge building work in Singapore. But this current initiative is slightly different is that it is a partnership between the ministry, the university, and the schools. So we started this initiative since 2010, and now we have about 10 schools with minimum 50 teachers embarking on this practice. So when we get started, tomorrow we have a session at 8:45, so if you want to know more about it from the teachers, join us. But we minimally work with one group of teachers, and we work a lot. The school then decide which subject and how they scale and so on. But the focus of this, in terms of the innovative practice, is that we really focus on creating knowledge in the classroom. Now, the whole school approach actually comes much later, when the principal sees that, hey, that classroom is different. Now, and me from the ministry, I'm challenged with, we have a one MOE approach, right? So the syllabus apparently comes from me as well, and the assessment apparently also comes from the ministry. So I do have to deal with a lot of such limitation, and so we work into curriculum mapping to look at big ideas, teacher making sense of all this. And in terms of even the assessment, when we code for scientificness and sophistication of idea, we actually track them according to the school-based result. And this is the 4th year, and we are actually seeing some consistent impact on school-based result. And we also do some of the co-designing of the question in the school-based exam. So you can see that it is really, really focusing on the classroom practice. And a little bit on PD is that we build PD through the teacher's discourse. So the teacher's discourse actually are the only PD resource at this moment. We developed some video, but that's much later on. So like I say, the whole school approach comes because the principals see a value, they start to support, and now we can gladly say that all our schools that are backing contests that push leadership support. And now we even have all the principals in Singapore going down to the KB schools as their learning journey. And so this work has been happening for the last 4 years. And in terms of the inter-school PLC, our schools are quite connected. Tomorrow you'll hear from the teachers. And we also, on the first day, Marty mentioned that we also connected with the Hong Kong teachers. And we find that on first day, we find that connection really, really powerful. And I mean, to really contribute to this initiative that we are putting together, I think we are more than happy to share our experience. We are more than happy to open up our classroom, open up our database, because we find that every time we contribute whatever little we have, we actually gain so much more of the ideas to push us forward. And in Singapore context, in an Asia context, where you're constrained by so much of assessment, curriculum coverage, and all that, we realize that we really need to keep some of this model really
intact, so that people know when they skill, when they use, they have a good model. So I'm here. Thank you, as I need to say.
Safety has 3 minutes as well.
I'm just going to add a few challenges we have. One is a happy problem. I teach knowledge course every year, and after every course, I have teachers coming to me asking for knowledge for databases. So we really have the issue of how to post databases for schools. So probably need to find a model which is more sustainable. Second challenge we have is just that in Mexico, our teachers are very concerned with finishing the syllabus, covering the syllabus. And we also have a very interesting culture there in Singapore. They are attracted to so many different models. So we are competing with PBL, design thinking. There's so many models that are attracted to. They are attracted to Web 2.0 tools. So when they compare Web 2.0 to Knowledge Forum, the earlier version, because I think they're more attracted to nice interfaces. So those challenges that we hope to overcome in the next few weeks. Thank you.
Great.
1 minute.
Sounds good. 1 minute.
Now the next one is where
We're in Spain.
Spain, España. Las españolas.
Aquí estamos. Joseph, we have the same problems that you have, you know. After many years doing knowledge forming in our schools, and what will be the dissemination, the implementation in all the country, no? And I think that it is impossible. Yeah. And for that, we need to go step to step, slowly, and to implement innovation in the schools. They like to do that, really, and they are prepared for that. For that, working together with the Ministry of Education of the country, we decide that one of the possibilities is to say that knowledge building is a project of innovation, and the ministry recognizes that as a very legal basis, etc., no? With some requisites, etc. And now our project is an innovation project in our country. And teachers that are doing this project have a certification, an official certification of our Ministry of Education, saying that are you doing this innovative project, and it means that they have points in their curriculum that is very good for them, because they can ask for to change school from our school, etc., etc. This is a good thing, I think, because it's not economic pressure on that. It's only for the career of the professional career of his teacher. No, I think is a first step for recognize that. No, the second step for the professional development is that in all our country we have a special office for dissemination of innovations, and our teachers are asked to do there and to make speeches about knowledge building in around of our country. And this is a very powerful dissemination tool also. And now we have more classes involved, more teachers involved, and all teachers are now the tool to train the new partners. No? And this is really very good. And with the say and with other people there, we are doing, I think, this is my job. No? Step to step. But for this recognition, we need an external evaluation. Not only to apply the internal applets and assessment inside of the knowledge forum. This is very good, and the ministry recognizes this is a fantastic tool. And also they recognize that knowledge forum is the best tool they have known for innovation and for to change classes. No? And this is for us very good. For them, they are now making an assessment, an external assessment, with questionnaires to teachers, to principals, to parents. Really? No, please, no. Because say sometimes true that without that we can say. And my thing is that please, we need the new version of knowledge to be ready as soon as possible. It's not complete, it doesn't matter, but we need this new tool. And also at the same time, we need the schools partners with our schools. Because we are growing and we have classes, and they like this international change is very important for us. We are, this is a small country, but very open, and we like to work with you and you and you and you and you. Please, come with us.
Yes, 30 seconds.
Just what I wanted to say is that for all of us, it is important to change the mentality of teachers. Because knowledge building is changing the way of teaching and learning. So I think that even if they are not using the tool, what is important is the philosophy behind the knowledge building. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Hello. For your information, Taiwan is an island, and if I remember correctly, Tibet province is all 40 times bigger than Taiwan. Probably as a population, probably as big as population. And I also believe I'm probably the only one doing knowledge building in Taiwan. So, but on the positive side, there's a potential very big market out there for me. And for the past 5 years also, I've been doing knowledge building mainly in the university campus, working with the research teachers. So, and right now we are trying to get into elementary school as well. And just it's some one issue we encountered is about language. And example, seems the Chinese, we cannot have Chinese in the Google or some browsers. And given the fact that Chinese speaking population is growing, I think that we should not exclude this large population. So maybe if it's possible, we can put this into the development of the development.
Now we have United Kingdom Neil McKen.
Hello. Scotland is undergoing a whirlwind of change just now with different conceptual currents, and there's a lot of functional tension. And I'll mention that the United Kingdom is fully devolved for school education, and that the four nations are varied and increasingly divergent. So I'm just going to make some very quick points under three headings. I'm going to talk about the cultural capacity for innovation, rather than more specifically about the knowledge building. And say that the cultural capacity for innovation in Scotland is being promoted by, we have a new curriculum in 2004, which is focused on 4 capacities of children's potential. And those are confidence, responsibility, contribution, and learning. 3 of those are about personal development, and only 1 of them is learning. There's a proclaimed culture of professionalisation and enhanced local autonomy, and an emphasis on the necessity for learning as formative assessment. And we're asked to bring in rounded outcomes and meaningful experiences. There's a goal of collaborative learning and an increased desire for professionalisation and for innovation. There's a pressure of change also from the real world outside of schools, and there's increased international collaboration. My view, though, is that there's also the increased capacity for innovation is being hindered, and it's being hindered by hierarchical governance and command and control, by a strong audit culture with universalistic and imposed idealisations of practice. There's a product model of curriculum still very much in place that's transferred over to our new curriculum, unfortunately. There's the features of Pasi Sahlberg's global education reform movement. There's a very strongly mandated list of central outcomes and experiences of the new curriculum. We're overwhelmed by jargon, which is hindering thinking. The test-based accountability and the international benchmarks that come into play. There's still very much a transmission model of the teacher role. And there's a notion of school still very much of delivering a service rather than being a community. And there's assessment of learning in many places is turned to sort of hyper-targets in the 3-part lesson. And there's very bureaucratic assessment. My last little discipline is just to say I think that the cultural capacity for innovation to be promoted by a far greater appreciation of divergent contexts and institutional forms in rural and urban, lessening of enforced initiatives, promoting conceptual shifts, a greater shift to the practitioner perspective, ending of fixed mandated idealizations. I would add here, of course, awareness of knowledge building, and I would also add very closely the systems thinking. And we need far more shift of personnel between sectoral roles. I want to see teachers as agents of research, actually generating and being part of the research community. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And now we have Al, but I don't see you. So we'll do Jen, wait.
My colleague Alan and Kate, they're very smart. They said that I should tell the story of the USA. And let me try. It's not, this is, I think a lot of you know that, I think the education overall in the United States currently is not, so much favorable of technology. And especially at the policy level. If we go to the education system, talking about an idea of building cultural capacity for innovation, I think most of the educators would say, this is not what we should do now, because it's not, it doesn't fit with the current trend or current demand of the policy. And so most of the educators would say that, it's a kind of an interesting image that, American students tend to be probably creative enough, but what they lack is the test score. So the international testing, they fell behind many countries. So that's what the policy people are really kind of looking at. Whether can we improve the testing score, and whether important kind of improvement movement currently a lot of teachers will be talking about is the common core standard, language and math, and not the next generation science standard. I think the curriculum itself is not that bad. The kind of downside of it that's coming with it is the high stake testing. So for not really kind of a framework to work out, it's really a challenge to persuade and to support the teachers that this can still meet the standard and meet the assessment requirement. Although that's the overall kind of context, not that favorable for knowledge. Although within that context, there are a few kind of themes or trends that really kind of require some kind of change or reform. Probably knowledge building can be a good tool for that. One thing is called data-driven practice and decision making. Of course, currently it's mostly about the testing score as data. But there are other kind of extension of it. Is really collecting more evidence of student learning and student participation in the school life, and use that intensively to inform teaching, inform decision making. A lot of money has been invested in that. And the other thing is called college and career readiness, especially in the STEM field. That's a huge thing. That the STEM talents there's a gap in that in the next 10 years, maybe 2 decades. So probably that's going to attract a lot of attention, a lot of investment to improve career readiness in STEM areas. I think knowledge building can be meet that demand well. And the other small thing, relatively at the lower level, that's the bottom-up level, is all kinds of innovations that has been developed outside the major education system, including some kind of innovations sponsored by the National Foundation and other foundations. For example, self-learning of the National Science Foundation. But within this whole system, it's interesting that most of the innovation choose to stay outside the formal school and come into the context of informal learning. And so that's something probably not really can do, is how we can better connect and enrich informal learning.
more minute then, sorry. So I think we finished with the panel, and Mark.
Yeah, so actually this was so much what we dreamed it would be in the sense of getting these different perspectives up front. And I'm just wondering if anybody who didn't speak on the panel either has a question for the panel or actually has their own input to issues that have to be taken into account. Okay. So, and if you decide in 2 seconds you do, just put it down. I think the real issue then for us is as we've gone through these think tanks, and I think people have said one of the problems is that we get together here, we all have incredibly intense work that goes on in between, some more connected, but mostly less connected. So I think we're starting to try to put together the core, at least 4 issues where we feel that we absolutely have to do this year. So the one is professional development and knowledge mobilization. The second one is trying to determine what are these hubs of innovation? What are these test beds? What part of the burden should they play? And how do we connect with them? Because in fact, all of our strength comes from real practices that are making a difference in these different contexts. And so how to take this diversity and pull it together. The third think tank, of course, is the technology and assessments that are going to drive this. And the fourth, which was the kind of central repository, the way to get the research data, but also the teachers' inventions and student discoveries. Like, how do we get the power of what students and teachers can do? And that got extended to how do we get a picture of superintendents and administrators and policymakers, like what a multi-level model has to be about. So those are the 4 areas. Now you hear from an international perspective what it is we have to do in order to get these pieces going. I think we've all reached the point where we just feel like we're kind of maxed out in the sense of a very small team of people trying to do a big job. And so I would really like to open the floor to, even tackling those 4 big issues in light of what people are saying are needed in your particular context to move forward. Seems to me that what we've come to, and I don't know if you would convey it this way, is that we really need to translate your needs into also the volunteer system of support that would allow us to generate resources that get more committed help on these different fronts. That is, until we have a newsletter, and we'll see what you're volunteering to do the newsletter can do. But still, you need to make connections with us. People have got to help say, what are those connections? It's got to be a very enterprise. So I'd really just like to open it up. We've heard where we're going. We've heard where the think tanks have gotten to. We've heard this international perspective. Really advice to the core operating of us in the knowledge building community. Thoughts you have, things that have come out of your insights from hearing, any kind of additional input that would help us be wise and do good things this year.
Good morning. I think we have those 4 think tanks, but hearing what I heard, somehow we have to come to terms with this tension between learning outcomes, the curriculum, and knowledge building. So there are still too much in opposite directions. So somehow I think, I don't know if it's a 5th, I think it's a task force for that one. So somehow we have to gather the resource we have, that we start to demonstrate that meeting the curriculum demands and having kids learning about knowledge building, knowledge creation. It's not opposite. Even if we feel the constraint of the curriculum locally, and I heard that a lot. So I think somehow this is probably something we need to do together. Back in '94, you had studies already demonstrated that. So, and I think we have bits and pieces here and there. But somehow the argument is still not convincing enough. To teachers and to policymakers.
But is it a research problem? Is it that we would need to have teams of policymakers opening up a space that what is it that would allow us to tackle that? You know, I mean, there's no doubt there's a belief gap. I mean, people don't even believe this material knowledge, let alone that doing so would help the basics. So it's a massive belief gap, but yeah.
I just want to say that in the 21st century, we have maybe 80% of teachers teaching in the 19th way century. And so I think that our mission is to change the mentality of teachers. So how can we do that? Expanding the knowledge building, I think it's a very good tool for teachers to change the way of teaching. And it goes with the curriculum because we are dealing with things related to the curriculum. We are not away from the curriculum. But it's the way of teaching and learning. So the teacher is another learner that learns together with the students in the class. And so they should look for information, they should create new knowledge from information they got, and the knowledge building is the best tool, in my opinion, to do that. But what we should do is to change the mentality of our teachers in our school. That's the main issue. If we don't change the mentality, if we don't change them, the use of teaching in the 19th century as they are doing, we are lost. So I don't know if they will or not, but
It's the problem at the university level. So.
Well, okay, I am a university student, a teacher, and student as well, because I am learning with my students. And I hope that my future teachers at the university will have another mentality. I hope they are not, contagious. Well, contagious not. So be contagious by other teachers when they will be at school. That's the
Maybe it's not enough.
Not enough?
Level for change.
No, it's not enough the university level for change. No, we must do some teacher training for the teachers in schools. That's what we're trying to do. Yeah. Sorry.
I'd like one comment to that, and that is, I totally agree. Sometimes it isn't the mentality of the teachers. And I really want to put this concept from the ICSI community of the permissive environment. The worst that can happen is you change the mentality of the teachers, the practice changes, and you have auditors, administrators, and inspectors that come in and flatten it. And then the damage that's caused is immense. And that just is happening and has to change.
Can I answer you on that? Because I think the people of the Ministry of Education, inspectors, local authorities, etc., if you invite them to come and to see knowledge building process, they are doing it. And we have made that during this year with Mercer and colleagues to invite the local authorities, to invite inspectors of the school, the principals, to come and to see what happened in the knowledge building classes. And they are like, really, because they don't know only the theories of something, but when they show that they are seeing what happens in the class, this is changing something. And another thing that before I forget it to say is that in each school that we are implemented knowledge building, in the curriculum of the school, not the national curriculum, but curriculum of the school, knowledge building is integrated as a project of innovation and interdisciplinarity, with many subjects involved in that, especially languages, technologies, and sciences and humanistic subjects. So this is the minimum core to be implemented knowledge for all in one school. And the requisite is that before we start with the project could be integrated clearly in the curriculum of the school. It means that parents, town hall, etc., to the surroundings are aware of what we do in this.
Sorry, but I'm thinking that we need to be careful about thinking the teachers we have to change the thinking of the teachers, because the teachers are the people who are in the practice of the kids. So they are powerful. And it's only because I'm really impressed here, because you are from countries that are modeling my country. So you are Singapore, Canada, Hong Kong, Spain, and you are in PISA assessment. You are very good. And I am from a country that is one of the worst countries in PISA assessment. And one thing we discovered in Brazil, if you put the culpability, if you say, your teachers, you are guilty about this, you are not going to do nothing. So, sorry, but I am in a really situation that is really different, because I am here in Canada advising to see what you do that is good for my country, and you say it's the same. And so I think we have to be careful to say teachers, because we are teachers. And so it's not the traditional, I think the traditional teaching is not bad, and knowledge building and it's good. No, it's another kind of being teacher. It's another kind of seeing children. It's another kind of seeing learning. And we have to know, I think, that like our colleague from UK, I think, the whole movement in the world now is against of us, because the assessment, the standards, all of this, they are guilty. The policies from Bank of Mundial Bank and I don't know, but this is in my country. We have the policies from all of things that are separated. That is older in our countries, come to Brazil as an innovation and policies buy and begin. And now we are going to assess children, and we are going to assess teachers, and we are going to give money to teachers that, So I think that is a movement that has to be a little bit smart. So the noise that I say in our group with Richards is to do a movement with teachers that believe in this, that can show to other teachers, to the researchers, what they do in their classes. Because to convince people that we do is good, there are another groups powerful that do the same thing that we. I don't know if you understand me. So we have to be smart and to do a noise and to disseminate the practice from the practice. Thank you.
Can I add something, Rami? Yeah. Just, I so agree with you, and thank you for that. And like what I have learned the most this week is I don't know the other countries and what they're doing, and that's so amazing to be able to share with other countries what
day-to-day reality is. But I just want to come back to the country the province that I know better, which is ours. We have lots to learn. We're still learning. But I think the curriculum actually right now, the way it's constructed, facilitates the knowledge building experience. I think the way it's constructed, it permits the teachers to be more creative, and it has a very fact, the school boards are working to simplify the curriculum so we give access to permission and creativity to the teachers so they can go further and really go to the essential stuff and make the critical thinking and now the knowledge building, knowledge farm a reality. For the teachers, I so agree with you. They are allowing change. It's not true that it's not changing. I don't believe that it's still the 19th century. I'm sorry, I don't want to contradict anybody, but I don't believe it. It's been changing for the last 25 years. What I saw in the classroom last year as a principal was not what I saw 17 years ago. Absolutely not. And we all worked together to change the reality. And it made a big difference in the students' involvement and the way the new teachers approach the profession. So if I can bring a little note of reality check, and another kind of reality check or positive note, it's not like it was 25 and 30 years ago at all. We pushed the universities to change. The field, in certain areas in Ontario, pushed universities to get involved in research that are action research on the field. Like we've done with Michael Full and what we do with Ken Leachwood, and other people from the university are interested to work with us because we want to change stuff together. That is just thinking, but it's thinking and acting at the same time, making sure that we listen to the field, to the teachers, to the reality, the classroom that has 33 students, and one is in grade 1 reading, and the other one is in grade 6 reading. It's a challenge. So how can we go and use the knowledge building, and we know it works, and use the knowledge building, use the critical thinking, other strategies to make the students learn, even if they have a learning disability, and we see stuff happening like that. I think there is a lot of stuff that we have to look at and consider when we talk about changing the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to comment for a minute on who I think we are as a people in this room today. And I think when we hear this beautiful presentation of all the international voices, it makes me realize that we could ask ourselves, are we a reasonable people or an unreasonable people? Is it reasonable for us to internationally go up against obstacles in almost every country? People are able to, no one is saying, this is a breeze for me. I know exactly how I'm going to institute this kind of learning, this kind of teaching, this kind of thinking. I can do this in my country because my country is ready. So my sense is that we are a group of unreasonable people in the very best way. We are unreasonable. We expect that something we believe in is going to be adopted, is going to be embraced, is going to be wanted, needed, supported over a long period of time until there's the kind of change we dream of for our students. But when we're unreasonable people, if we are, it's just my hypothesis, my theory this afternoon, I feel that we have to acknowledge what we share as unreasonable people. We share obstacles that have not gone away in the 15 years I've been coming to Summer Institute, although I missed the last 2, I'm so sorry. Don't think they went away. So I guess for me, I wanted to raise just a quick question, probably in your own context. You could think of the very people that you would ask this question of. But I've got specific people in mind because they're in the room today. Mireya put her finger on something that has happened in Ontario when our Ontario colleagues from the Ministry of Education and the Ontario Principals Councils reported on Tuesday afternoon. Mireya said, I'm so happy to hear that something is happening in Ontario. It used to be that we would say, why all over the world, but Ontario doesn't take it up. So here's my question to Bruce and to Elaine and Dennis, although I'm not sure he's here right now, and to our Ontario principal colleagues, and we're so happy that they are all here. What convinced you? What, if we asked you to name the one thing that made the difference? Why now, and how can you say yes when it is a little bit unreasonable faced with particular curriculum restraints? Many of you, I think, are far enough along in your careers that you've seen many things happen. But what was it that made you say yes? Because if you just had the one thing to tell us, we might know how to bring the rest along. I'll start with you.
This is hard. It's not one thing, but I'll tell you the one thing for the Principals Association, the three associations, at the heart of it is trust. We run our project with a steering team, which has representatives of the Principal Association, the Ministry of Education, and Curriculum Services Canada. And Dennis and Elaine came to us with something they've been interested in exploring for a couple of years. We were with Parliament's son and Alana, called the writer, and we sat at the table, and they talked about knowledge building and that again. And we had quite a deep discussion about that. So the advocate, the person who has knowledge and has experience with knowledge building, brought it to our attention. Then the experience said, yes, we'll explore it. So, and some of us had doubts whether this was the direction the team should go for the next year. And that was our starting point. And that's my one point. Mary, would you like that in?
Well, I think what our careers as assertive professionals,
we're never satisfied. You know, what about those kids in the class that don't learn? What about those teachers who struggle? So we're always open to doing better and to improving. You know, when you go to Teachers College, I don't know what this term is just in other countries, and you go for an interview, you say you want to make a difference. What does that mean, make a difference? And so, you know, our ears are always open to new ideas. We were doing collaborative inquiry. You know, we went to Ken and sort of said, you know what, this collaborative inquiry is great at the adult level and student level, but we're not getting the results. Where are the indicators? Where is the evidence? And so through Dennis and Elaine and through Ken, I think Ken had spoken to the two of you about, talk to Marlene and Carl. They're doing some really good work about deep knowledge building. And so I think that, you know what, we'll go back to, I can say, Chris again, who said, never say, you know, can't do it. We all have obstacles, but we don't know how to do it yet. I think if we have that attitude at all levels, we're just going to be making progress. So thank you for that, Elizabeth.
I think what made the difference for myself and for my assistant deputy minister was that Marlene was able to convince us that this makes a difference for kids. That there's an opportunity to change their lives, to level the playing field, to have everyone involved and engaged in the learning in a very deep way, and to potentially change their trajectory in life, but to change their learning at a very fundamental basis, to make them all valuable in a class, their thoughts, their ideas, and that making a difference to kids is what moved me to look into it more. And then, of course, we're involved in LSA as well. And we have, you know, as I think Lindy said, the steering committee has reps from our division on it. So we have influence there as well. So that's what made the difference.
Yeah. I think that in that sense, it's not a matter of that teachers have a wrong mentality, like you were saying. But because we in our Master of Education for Learning and Innovation, that every year teachers are coming in because they want to do it better. Teachers want to do better, even if they are doing good. The most important thing is that in teacher education, you have to give them a knowledge building experience so that they actually get experiences that it can be in a different way, that it can be more experienced how it can be.
Can I have a point of that, just as the mic's come to me? You have actually answered the point that I made just a little while ago, and that is, whilst we talk about deep and constructive engagement with ideas of children and educators, it's also with the administrators and senior policymakers and getting that fluid flow of ideas and what works going up and down the level. So in a sense, you're very much, I'm a school principal in Scotland, and it's that plea that when there's big conceptual changes going on, there has to be that active engagement between the ideas, the concepts of practice, and results, and what's actually working. And it's that whole sort of, that actually is the other, what I would almost put, as I'm new to knowledge building, officially, and I've been doing so much that's similar, but there's a sort of a parallel concept that I'm quite involved with in the UK of systems thinking. And I can see that's an area to be really opened up, the synergy between the two.
You know, do you mind if I just mention something that you said one day? One sentence, Marlene said to me, if not us, then who?
Thank you. If not us, then who? And this panel has just made me think, you know, I wonder if collectively, like it would take us a little while to figure out what the theme is, and I hope we have enough of this recorded, but this deep belief in what students are capable of doing, this ability to do that, and you know, we could say, talk about teachers' innovations, because I marvel what they do. I mean, I just marvel what they do. Their say is, like, if you take huge scale on teachers and teacher change, most teachers, I think, self-reportedly feel more comfortable with the transmission model if they know how to get the curriculum. So I think if you look broadly at the issue, what you're saying, it would be by teachers reporting. But so we often compare things from a teacher. It's kind of like, I can do that, or I can do that. But don't ask me to do both. It's a really hard choice, and I did feel a kind of pressure. So I think that too is real. But anyhow, here's the thought coming out of this. We had a theme that we thought captured what we were about. And if we created, I mean, I'm saying a move, but literally a course that we put out to the world. Like we really invited people with a theme that we thought was jazzy enough that people might take this course, so that they were able to hear what was going on in different motions. The power of students' ideas is what we would use to, I don't know, I'm making this up, but I'm thinking we collectively create a 15-week session on what's possible, the power of students' ideas, and whatever. It would take a lot of thought, but we might just have a lot of birds with one stone. Not only do we have this really neat course that starts to deal with some of the knowledge mobilization, some of the kinds of things that are happening, but we actually earn ourselves a lot of money, and then we can do what all the think tanks that we should do, because we would have in our collective pool enough resources to get at those new assessment tools. Nancy Law, it was really something to have her talk about how they got a huge grant. They moved forward for 5-6 years. The grant went away, and a lot of the innovation went away. But what I heard and what she was saying, it was so hard to connect knowledge building with life. And I'm listening to the last 2 days, where I don't know, these the students that are showing what students are capable of, and the exciting power of the learning analytics that we have that teach students and I was thinking, that's a lever in 200 years of education, education has never had such a low-in on student resources that would enable this on a large scale. We've never had a curriculum as a search parameter across our fields to show how powerfully and deeply students are going into the curriculum. Like we put it, education has something never done before. So if we were the first people out there showing the power of these, and these were part of the course that we collectively taught, maybe we could start to get to what the unreasonable people do that's reasonable. Anyhow, a thought. I know we're late. I know we need to go party. I don't know if there are any final words.
We have the knowledge and the technology.
Yes.
That's the fourth element. Maybe I should have put in the equation when you were talking.
Yeah.
Because it's the time where government put technology into schools, all kinds of technology, one after the other. And, well, okay, well, it's 5:05. And now it's time for more. Well, thank you, first of all of you. I think it was a wonderful time. And you know, the first departure time with the guy to make city using the city bus is 5 o'clock. So who is willing to go at 5 o'clock? And with Marigo. First group to go where? You go in town and you are at the Marine Center at 7. And then everybody else, we can ask somebody at that set at 6 o'clock. Either you go on your own, or you wait for the guy at 6 o'clock, and then this person will take you to town, have a little walk with you, and get you at the Marine Center for 7.